Hi, this is Kirk Kinder with Picket Fence Financial. I'd like to thank you for tuning into this webinar. And what we're going to talk about today are the changes that happened in Social Security recently. Now, if you're a Gen Xer or younger, you probably have no idea what's going on. But if you're somebody that's kind of getting close to retirement, maybe you're 55 or older, you may have heard about some strategies that spouses can take to maximize their Social Security. Well, I'm here to tell you now that we basically had all of those avenues slammed shut with the stroke of a pen. So, in the recent budget bill that Congress passed, on page 650 of 1025 or whatever, how big those bills are. Well, they put in a clause that basically closed the biggest avenues for folks to do some Social Security planning. So what I'm going to do right now is kind of go through what avenues were open to people, how they worked. Even though they're no longer here, I think it's good that you have an understanding of what they were. And then I'll kind of get into what is the official status now, who can still do these, who can't, what's happening. So the first one that is usually the most popular, you hear it the most when you or listen to the press or looking at articles dealing with financial issues, was the file and suspend. So what you have here is you have at least one spouse that has reached their full retirement age, typically 66 for most people. So that spouse who reaches full retirement age files for Social Security, and then they suspend the benefits, hence the file and suspend. Well, what this does is it allows the other spouse to claim a spousal benefit, which is, of course, generally half of the benefit. This allows the first spouse, the originating spouse, to delay taking his or her benefits to age 70 so they can maximize those benefits. It also allows the second spouse to, since they're claiming a spousal benefit, it allows them to let their benefits grow as well to age 70. The other beautiful thing, the other benefit here is usually the first spouse that does the file and suspend typically is a male. That allows the male to maximize his benefit, and then the wife or the other spouse will be able to have a higher surviving spouse benefit, because once the male will die, typically it happens before the women, and then the surviving spouse gets that full benefit. So it also helps on that end. So just to give you a really quick example, let's say you have a married couple, Ken and Mary. They're both 66. You marry, she's had enough. She wants to get out of the workforce, but Ken, he plans to work a little bit longer. Right now, Ken's benefit is $2,000 per month, and Mary's is $900. So what happens in this case is Ken file and suspends his benefit. So his benefit is going to continue to grow to age 70, and by that point, it's going to be 2,640. Remember that every year you delay taking Social Security, your benefit generally grows about 8% annually. So now Mary, what she's going to do in this situation, she's going to actually take the spousal benefit. So that's going to be roughly half of Ken's. So his current benefit of 2,000, she'll get 1,000. Now her $900 will continue to grow until she hits age 70. So then at age 70, she's going to switch over and take her benefit. So at that point, it's going to be $1,188. So you can see how a couple here can kind of maximize or at least get a little bit more of their Social Security by taking this strategy. The other thing, as I mentioned before, if Ken predeceases Mary, Mary's going to get the highest benefit possible. She'll get that $2,640. So file and suspend was a very viable option for many couples. Another excellent tool for Social Security planning was called the restricted application. So here again, you have one spouse who reaches the full retirement age. That spouse then does a restricted application, and it allows that spouse to take the spousal benefit and not his or her benefit. Stay with me. This one's a little bit different. What you're really looking at here is a method to let a higher earning spouse defer his or her benefit while taking the spousal benefit. So let's go back to an example here with Ken and Mary. Again, they're both 66. Mary's eligible for $900 per month, and Ken is currently eligible for $2,000 per month. So Ken, he's going to retire. He's had enough. He doesn't want to do any more work. So he is going to do a restricted application, and then he'll take half of Mary's benefit. So half of that $900 or $450 per month, and it still allows his benefit to grow to age 70, where it'll be worth 2,640. So here again, you can see how a couple might be able to maximize their Social Security by allowing the benefit that they are going to receive to grow up until age 70, but then swap and take the other spouse's spousal benefit. So you can add, sometimes 100 to even up to $200,000 over the lifetime of spouses, assuming that they live, until the late 80s or 90s. So again, what Congress did is, I think, in a very nefarious manner, they just snuck this into the budget bill. I do think long term it was probably a good move. It does help to close the gap, the shortfall that Social Security is facing. It's certainly not a huge gap that it's going to fill, but it does help long term viability. But I just have a problem the way that they did it. Kind of the last second they threw it in there, at midnight before the bill was going to be passed. So there was absolutely no debate. There was no opportunity for us as citizens to contact our congressmen or congresswomen and give them holy hell. So it doesn't mean that everybody is affected by this. Congress did put some grandfather clauses in here. Obviously, if you're already doing a restricted application or a file and suspend, you're not going to be impacted by this. You're going to be able to continue to do whatever strategy you thought you were planning on doing. The other thing is surviving spouses are not impacted by any of these measures. So I guess, Congress has a little bit of a soft spot in their heart. So if you lost your spouse, you are not going to be out of any opportunity to do any kind of file and suspend or restricted application. So that's good. But this is going to hit people who are currently married or divorced spouses who are going to claim on their ex-spouse's Social Security. So first off, if by October 29th of 2015, you were 65 and a half or older. So essentially, if you were born on April 30th, 1950 or earlier, you're still going to pretty much have the opportunity to do either the file and suspend or restricted application. So you've been grandfathered in, even though you haven't actually or may not have actually implemented either of these strategies. If you're going to be 66 before the end of April of this year, you're okay. With one caveat: if you want to do a file and suspend strategy. So this would be for currently married folks or parents with dependents of disabled children, or disabled dependents, I should say. You have to actually implement the file and suspend by April 29th of this year. So you can't wait beyond that date and still do the file and suspend. So if you were thinking, I'll wait till 67 or 68 to do this, no. You've got to take action if you want to do a file and suspend by April 29th, 2016. Now, the other folks who have at least a partial of a grandfather is if you were age 62 or older by the end of 2015. So that means if you were born in 1953 or earlier, you are also going to have at least the ability to do the restricted application. So again, if you're 66 by April 30th, you can do the file and suspend or the restricted application. Either of those you can do. Now, if you're 62 by the end of 2015, you're not eligible to do the file and suspend, but you are eligible to do the restricted application. I think this is extremely important for divorced spouses. For instance, I have a client. We've been planning for years for her to hit age 66 and I think 6 months. So once she hits full retirement age, she was going to do a restricted application and take the benefit of her ex-spouse, take the spousal benefit. So half of his benefit and let hers to continue to grow to age 70. So as you can imagine, I was stressing out when I saw that this was closed. And she barely got it. She turned 62 at the end of November. So she snuck in by 1 month to be able to still do this. So I think divorced spouses are going to be hit the most by these rulings. So if you're under 62 in 2015, so if you were born January 2nd, 1954, or later than that date, you're out of luck. You're not going to be able to do file and suspend. You're not going to be able to do restricted application. You're just out of luck. You're not going to be eligible to do any of those things. So you really had your options taken away if you're 62 or under in 2015. So this is a really nice little chart. I can't take credit for it. Michael Kitchis put it together. He's kind of a planning guru, but it really does a nice job of showing you what your options are based on your age. So again, 65 and a half or older by the end of 2015, you still pretty much have all the options open to you. If you want to do file and suspend, you do have to do that by April 29th of 2016. If you're 62 or older in 2015, you still have the restricted application open to you, but you do not have the file suspend. And if you're under age 62 in 2015, you're just out of luck. So I appreciate you listening to this webinar. If you would like more information like this, I do invite you to get our monthly newsletter. You can go to picketfencefinancial.com/education and sign up for my newsletter. I do not spam you. I only send these out once a month. I will not sell your information to any third party. You can also follow us on Facebook. We have all that information there as well. And then if you just want the webinars themselves, I post them on YouTube. You can go to YouTube and type in a search for Kirk Kinder, and you'll be able to see all of my current and previous webinars. So again, I thank you for listening. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me directly. Thank you.